Hello and welcome to Crypto TV. I'm your host, Ornella Hernandez, and I will be breaking down some of the latest news from the Web3 world. The latest hack? We're going to look into how scammers are pretending to be Coinbase customer support and draining people's wallets. And please stay tuned because we have two special guests joining us today, two Web3 entrepreneurs, one from the metaverse and the other from the world of compliance. Let's get started. A crypto trader named Jacob Canfield took to Twitter to post his story about how he was almost scammed by what he thought was Coinbase. Yes, the crypto exchange that has been under fire recently by US regulators. Apparently, it has also had a data breach. Jacob calls it one of the most complex scams in crypto that he has ever seen, and he warns all Coinbase users out there. Here's what happened to him. First, he receives a text message saying that his Coinbase 2FA verification settings have been changed. 2FA stands for two-factor authentication, and it refers to that extra layer of protection after you log into your Coinbase account or even your email, for example, with a username and password. It's that code that's sent to your smartphone that you're then asked to type in order to ensure that it's you. So this prompted Jacob to immediately log into his Coinbase account and change his password. He was smart about that. He sensed something was going on. And within the next few minutes, he gets 3 calls from a San Francisco number claiming to be Coinbase customer support. He answers on the 3rd try. They ask him if he has been traveling outside of the US and if he had requested an email change and a 2FA change. When Jacob answers no to these questions, the supposed customer support team sends him an email with a verification code from the email address help@coinbase.com, which looks legit at first. But if you look at the bottom left corner, the date says 2021. Last time I checked, it was 2023. So sloppy scammers must have forgotten to update the year. But when Jacob refused to give them the verification code, he says that the person on the other side of the line got angry and hung up the phone. So thankfully, Jacob didn't lose any assets, but he was very, very close. And thanks to the crypto Twitter commenting on Jacob's tweet, he was also able to find out a lot more information on this type of scam. Turns out that he's not the only one, and that there are 30 plus people that may have been hit with the same scam, and a few people that had their accounts drained. And turns out it's an ongoing phishing scam, phishing with a PH. That's when attackers con you out of sensitive and financial information. So Twitter user ZachXBT, a self-described on-chain sleuth who is always investigating crypto scams, commented and cited 2 other users that were targeted in a similar Coinbase scam in November of 2022. One lost 13 Bitcoins. And the worst part is that Coinbase can't really do anything about this. And all of the victims were likely targeted from data breaches from third parties that they may not even be aware of. So Jacob, for example, says that his data was exploited in a Gemini crypto exchange data breach in 2022, among some other companies' data breaches. Makes me wonder if my data has been part of any data breaches recently that I may not know about. So any white hat hackers out there that want to help me investigate that, please let me know. Okay, so how do the scammers actually drain the money off of the exchange? Well, it turns out that while one scammer was on the phone with Jacob, another one was on the phone or on live chat with the actual Coinbase support requesting a code verification. So the code was apparently real and it would have granted the scammers access to Jacob's account. Luckily, though, he did not give it to them. Moral of the story is, if it smells fishy, it probably is. And it is better to be safe than sorry and change all of your passwords regularly, and especially if you're a Coinbase user. I know I definitely will. But before that, we are going to welcome 2 very special guests today, Sam Huber from LandVault and Gilson Ribeiro from VAF Compliance. Stay tuned. I have 2 special guests joining me today. We have Gilson Costa, the CEO of VAF Compliance, and to my left is Sam Huber, the CEO of LandVault. So let's start with some quick introduction. If you guys can please just describe your companies and what you do in a few lines. Let's start with you, Gilson.
Thank you. So we are a fully fledged compliance company focused on the digital assets market.
Okay, and Sam?
So we are a metaverse infrastructure company. So we help big brands and governments build content in the metaverse and also build all the technology to help them support their projects.
Okay, awesome. So we'll get into the specifics in a bit, but first we're going to start off with a little game of Never Have I Ever Crypto Edition, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to change up the rules a little bit, and we're only going to do 2 questions each instead of 10. You can hold your fingers up if you want. You don't need to, okay? I'll start, and then we'll go around this way, okay? Okay. Never have I ever used crypto to buy something illegal.
Yeah. That's
We have
I ever done this.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I never done it.
No?
No, never.
You sound... You can say
I'm
it.
going to incriminate myself on live.
It's we're not live. Maybe something...
Yes.
Was it like...
Yes.
What industry?
Not getting into
Okay.
specific.
Fine. Okay. Never have I ever sold an NFT. I've bought NFTs, but I've actually never sold them.
I've done both.
What is there anyone that you like maybe regret selling? Like maybe it went up more after you sold it?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think that at the time when I got it, again, probably could go into the specifics of this one. I benefited as much as everybody was doing at that time.
Okay.
Let's say that.
Was it a blue chip or one of the big ones?
I was just, let's say, on the hype. One of the ones that was like a very one that was very hype.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the project had a lot of value in it, to be very honest. I think at the time, you could just buy almost anything.
Yeah, and
you make a
probably
profit on it. Yeah.
Oh,
good
good
times.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was good times.
Yeah. No, it's the other way around. Whatever you buy is going down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What about you, Sam? Is there any NFTs that you've sold that
I
maybe
have.
you regret?
So I'm generally pretty bad at selling. I'm a hoarder of NFTs. I'm like the platinum hands. I don't sell.
Yeah.
Don't sell much, but I have sold land, and I have sold a few lately. Actually, a bunch of metaverse related NFTs.
In which metaverse platforms?
NFT worlds. Some of them that I bought pretty early on. Got a nice airdrop as well, and learning from my previous mistakes in the last whole run of not selling anything, decided to hedge a little bit. So I know how to sell an NFT.
You're learning.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Okay, who wants to go next? Never have I ever.
I can go next.
Go for it.
Have I ever bought crypto where I had inside information of a project?
No. I will admit I've bought, because I write and I'm a journalist, I will buy stuff after reporting on it if I see that it's like maybe doing well, but it's not insider.
Right.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I feel like this is a lot of information.
Incriminating you.
I'm gonna make it out of this studio. Let's say no.
Let's say. Okay. Next.
Never, ever lost money in FTX.
I didn't. I did not.
Well,
Technically.
technically, we were actually using FTX. So we have about 120 staff globally, and a few of them are in the crypto space, like to be paid in crypto.
Yeah.
And we were using FTX as ways to make payments. So we didn't have like a huge amount, but we would load like, I don't know, $50,000 every month to just pay staff.
Yeah.
I think we have lost a little bit, but I also know that we had insurance and somehow got the money back.
Very good.
So,
Well done.
Figured it out.
Nice. There you go. That's the lesson.
yeah.
Insurance.
All right, Sam, do you have one more last question for us? And never have I ever.
Another one. All right, let's test your, if you're like a OG in the space. Have I ever bought cryptocurrency from Mt. Gox?
No. So I was actually exposed to Mt. Gox at the time in uni, but I wouldn't say directly, but I bought off people that had it there. Yeah.
And so do you still have crypto locked in?
No.
Right.
I didn't. No, because I bought it off. Yeah. And it wasn't a big quantity either. So,
Right.
So yeah, we're talking small. But at the time, I guess now will be worth something.
Now here's a fun fact. The day where FTX went down, I actually received a message from Mt. Gox, saying that the Bitcoin that I lost exactly 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, 2014, were actually going to be repaid. Not everything, but some of it.
Really?
After about 9 years of court proceedings and all of that, they actually...
you did lose money.
Say it like
I did. Yeah.
In a class action.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of penny on the dollars. I don't even know. It still hasn't been paid out. But it was funny that it was the same day.
Wow.
As one goes down, the other one. You know, it's just a cycle of scams.
But you'll see like a little bit of what you lost, right? Like.
I assume
won't
that's
be
the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay. All right. Good game, guys. Well, Gilson, I wanted to start with you because earlier in the show, I talked a lot about scams and some recent hacks that have been going on. Every week, I feel like there's something new. And I wanted to ask you, as our regulation expert today, maybe what are some of the risks that companies face when they're trying to implement compliance solutions, like vulnerabilities? Like, what would you...
I would say not understanding their risk, actually. That's the first thing. I think that's where companies like ours come in as compliance consultants, where we can help you understand the risk. And we have several clients, like most recently, a bank actually from Vegas. They wanted to capture the gambling guys, right? That in the casinos, there's a lot of crypto.
Yeah.
Right? So they wanted to capture that segment, but they didn't necessarily understand the risk. So when we come in, and if you think as a traditional bank, and this bank is actually quite new, just recently passed the mark to become a fully fledged after 3 years. But yeah, you just need to go in there and actually start with the basics. And that's, I think I would recommend to everyone that is more on the traditional space that wants to get into crypto. Start with the basics. Don't go fully fledged at the end and say like, oh, I'm going to do custody, I'm going to off-ramp it, everything is out of the bank. First trying to find some trusted partners, people that have been in this for a while, either is custody, either is for off-ramping, people that are regulated, in some sort of way, and then go with those guys and understand what is your risk, what's your risk appetite. I've worked with another bank, an European bank that they offer crypto corporate bank accounts for clients in the crypto space, and they offer custody, opportunity to stake, and so on inside of the banking infrastructure. But for example, they understand very early the risk appetite. So the risk appetite is one, they bought all the infrastructure from another bank. They already operate in this space for a long time. So you just bypassing a lot of the risk by going for someone that is already regulated, has been doing this for years, so they know what they're doing. And then the second part will be each client they will to onboard, it has to go up to the board. Okay, it's not the best process to start with.
Up to the board.
Yeah, so it means that like if you come in as a client, they will look at your file. We will help them as compliance consultants to understand what's the risk that this client might bring to the bank, whatever exposure they have, either reputational or even financial. And then once they are satisfied with that, they take it up to the board members, and then they will approve each one of them.
Okay.
It's not the best process, but it's a process.
Well, it takes longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at least it helps them understand what kind of risk is their risk appetite. And then as time goes by, as they understand better, then they'll be able to loosen up bit by bit.
Yeah. And so that's how your company, like what role does your company play in this type?
So on the American bank, we actually gave them training, help them write the procedures, the policies, the manuals, help them with the vendor selection with the tools, and just basically are there to bridge the gap between traditional compliance and digital asset compliance. And that's mainly our role.
So what's the main difference, would you say, between traditional and digital asset compliance?
I think, one thing is just the lack of knowledge. I think that's the first thing they have. So I come from traditional banking myself. So I understand that, those rules were written, I don't know how many centuries ago. The world has evolved. If you look at cases like FTX and these people, there's technology have backdoors and all these things that doesn't necessarily exist in banking. Okay, you can always have bad players. You can't protect against that. Doesn't matter which industry you are. You know what I mean? But you just need to understand in terms of systems, in terms of, and mostly these things go down or there's failures because of people. People normally seem to be the weakest link. So if people have a good understanding of it, I'll give another example. Another bank we work, a Swiss bank, they had all the tools, everything, but they didn't really understand what to do with them, right? So they had all the tools you can imagine, to forensics, tracking, they had everything. But the guys that were sitting there, the compliance officers, maybe someone before them had the knowledge, passed them on to them, and then they left, and maybe someone else was there, and that person didn't necessarily, he had a checklist, but if you asked them, why are you doing this? He didn't really understand why. He just knew someone told him.
Right.
You know? But that's when and that's our role, right?
Okay.
To question that and make sure that people understand what they're doing, why are they doing it, and just that obviously in technology, in this space, it evolves so fast.
It really does. It's hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You got to keep up, because otherwise, it might get caught.
Okay, and so now I want to shift gears to talk a little bit about tokenization, because I know this can apply to both of you. So in that case, Sam, I know LandVault is launching the Matera protocol, and you guys have your own token coming out soon. So I wanted to ask maybe what was the process like when it came to that, and how were you trying to maybe minimize any risks and harm to consumers?
Yeah, so the main thing, to give a bit of context, the protocol that we're doing aims to help creators, people that are building virtual worlds, to actually bring those worlds on chain by tokenizing the content, bringing your content as NFTs, so that each asset, each piece of content becomes something you can monetize, but also create a token economy within those environments. This is something that when we work with governments, when we work with big brands, they're always interested in ways that they can monetize the content using those Web3 economics. So, in order to create those economies, the first thing was obviously legal and regulation. There's very strict rules in the US when it comes to securities. This is generally not something you want to be offering unless you're properly regulated. So
especially now.
Exactly. So there was a lot of legal work to be done there, which is really going down to the design of the actual protocol. How does the token accrue value? How is that value passed on to the customers, and basically trying to design, around that to make sure that we don't qualify as a security.
Yeah.
Done. Every jurisdiction has different view on that as well. So where you want to host your foundation, which holds the token, is also really important. So there's multiple things to navigate even before you can truly implement the project.
Yeah.
It's really about the setup and figuring out where is the best to host that and what is the best design for your network.
Yeah, you have to be really careful, especially now when regulators are starting to crack down.
And I'm curious now, where did you base the foundation?
The foundation is based in the Cayman Islands. Yes. There was a debate at some point between Singapore and the Cayman Islands. And of course we have a company, right, operating company generating revenue based here, based in the UK, based in the US. So we already had an existing structure, and we had to find a way to get the foundation to work around all of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in virtual worlds, though, I guess because crypto is now powering any e-commerce capabilities, what's the best way to maybe protect consumers when it comes to that?
I think using safe systems and really explaining to consumers what they're getting into. So the off-ramp, the ability to pay with crypto directly from a metaverse experience, which could be a virtual shop or virtual tickets. All of that is taken care of by some of our technology, but we also work with other partners, payment gateways who have been properly regulated. So I think using safe tools and also really explaining to consumers within the experience, what are their options and what are their risks is really paramount.
And what about when it comes to VR and AR? I'm sure you guys have seen Apple's Vision Pro headset. Like, what do you think about that? Maybe when it comes to any vulnerabilities it may have when it comes to protecting consumers, or any risks there compliance-wise, or for you, Sam, like would you yourself buy it? Like what would you be worried about when it comes to maybe safety and privacy? Whoever wants to go first.
I think in terms of the consumer protection part, I think that's where the regulation comes in, and it works well. You have now with VAR, for example, Sam is going to issue a token, right? If he wanted to issue a token in Dubai, he has to comply with the issuance book. So it means that he has to go to a certain, he has to fulfill certain requirements of this white paper, which are most like a prospectus you would expect in finance traditional world. And then VAR would classify him as a VASP, basically. Even though it's not regulated, he has to be authorized. So that's how you protect the consumer. You make sure that the differentiation between what's an utility token, what's a security token, the marketing is done properly, so it's explained and is not deceiving the things that are put out there for the consumer. So for me, that's big, and that's where the regulator coming in. For example, here in Dubai, very particularly, it's very important to protect the consumers exactly from that, because you can see, and before the regulator was in place, or in other parts of the world, you can see a lot of advertising and rule projects where there's not really nothing behind it, so the consumers are protected. People are not held accountable. Once you have the regulator and we have these things in place that you need to comply with, therefore you can be held accountable. I'm not saying, again, you can protect against all bad players, and this is not a crypto problem. It's a well-known, people always held crypto more accountable for everything, but you still had a Wirecard, Bernie Madoff, these kind of people. They were allowed it by PwC and JP Morgan giving bank accounts, and I was JP Morgan, so I can tell it. So there's no issue with that. That's one part. In terms of these kind of new technologies, like VR, SaaS, like we've seen the Apple one thing first, it's extremely expensive, so I guess it's not going to...
For now. I think the first iteration is always more expensive, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. I haven't tried it yet, but what I would say for me, personally, all those kind of realities, and we talk about the metaverse, only will become mainstream when we have technology that's kind of in front of us. I don't really believe that the headset itself, it's going to be the way forward in the future. I think it has to be something like the mobile phone. Something will come up.
Like a hologram?
Yeah, almost. Almost. And I don't know which way you will interact, but I think that's when it becomes mainstream. I think that's when it becomes, because it's easy.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody can understand it. There's no instructions. It's like if you pick up an iPhone, it doesn't come with a manual.
Right. You
just go with it.
Yeah.
Somehow, I don't know you do, but you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I see the future. Either that's...
So more handheld devices.
Yeah, I would expect something handheld, something that is more portable, user-friendly, cheaper.
But it's also something that where if you don't need hardware and all you need is to download a new app or a new software, then you really reduce the barriers to entry.
Absolutely.
And this is what we've seen with VR, with the Meta Quest, which is the best VR headset out there. And it's actually quite cheap. It's $399, $499, but it's still been difficult for people to buy a new device because they don't necessarily understand what's in it for them. It's a new behavior. Whereas on the phone, everyone knows what you use the phone for. I think that's actually why Apple, the launch of the Vision Pro has been talked about so much, is because Apple has presented it as an evolution, not a revolution. They showed that you could view your pictures, that you could watch Netflix. Those are things that you already do on other devices. And they just showed how you could do it better in the headset. Whereas what Meta shows you, or HoloLens, these are much more technical use cases of, deconstructing a turbine in 3D. Like, you don't do that every day.
Exactly.
So I think this made it more like 10 years away as opposed to the technology of tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree.
Apple's just great at marketing, though.
Yeah.
That's
compared to
making the product relevant. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what they really go. I guess they made it into a fashion item, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see once it comes out if it really takes off. But guys, we're almost running out of time. So last question, any words of wisdom, any advice for future fellow entrepreneurs that are trying to make it in the crypto world?
I think one important for me is be ready to, you might start with one idea, but as the industry evolves, be ready to shift or pivot. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay. What about you, Stan?
I would say the best thing is really to think about a real use case, real utility, and not putting the technology first, not thinking, here's crypto, what can I do with it? But really try to solve a real problem for the world where crypto can actually be the best tool to solve it. So starting with the use case first and then technology second is always the best way to do it.
All right. Well, thank you guys. That's all we have time for today. Please stay tuned for the market report coming up next. The U.S. Financial Services Committee had a hearing about crypto this week. It was called The Future of Digital Assets, Providing Clarity for the Digital Asset Ecosystem. Oof, that's a long name. The agenda covered everything from the new stablecoin bill to talking about how the digital market should be structured and regulated. Special guests included the CEO of Circle and the CEO of Ava Labs. The biggest takeaway from the 5-hour-long hearing was that there were many members of Congress that do want to keep crypto innovation in the US. Yes, they want to create laws and regulation around crypto in order to keep investors safe, but they don't want to outright kill crypto either. This is good news. Not all hope is lost in the US, and maybe we will see some good old bipartisanship out of Congress. When it comes to crypto, at least. And since the US Fed decided to keep interest rates unchanged this week, this caused Bitcoin's price to drop. It is now hovering just under the $25,000 mark, and its last high of $30,000 was back in April. The price of Ether has also been going down all month by 10%, and since it was approaching the 2,000 mark price at the end of May, it is now currently at $1,600. Well, that's it for today on Crypto TV. Please remember to check out the rest of the Web3 TV YouTube channel and hit that like button, click subscribe, and please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. See you later, guys.